I bet this was a jump scare for most of you guys. I know it may seem like I'm an Arknight's creator, but my main passion will always be creative expressionism, especially when it comes in the form of manga, and I'll be dead in the ground before I give up my Halloween review. I'm already probably going to be giving up the end of year special at this rate, but Halloween will always be the time of the year where I get the whittle on the piss poor genre that is, which is the horror subgenre of the manga. So the real question is, who will feel the wrath of my whittling this year? Any ideas? Audience stand-in Pilates.
宇宙人の秘密
No, it's too soon to reopen that wound.
子供たち
No, we missed that chance when Mangadex removed it from its staff recommendations.
キイチ
Okay, that's really good, but it's a really good out-of-the-box pick, but I'm not tackling that within our limited time frame.
クズ野郎の負け犬
Oh shit, I forgot. I have a half-in script for that for ages now. Yeah, fuck it, why not? This one's gonna be a fun one. So, Scumbag Loser. You may have not heard of this title, and I don't blame you because it shares an author with Gunnett's Clover, which is wild because the only thing I remember from that series is the guy screaming how much he loves lollies, which really says everything you need to know about that manga. Oh yeah, he also wrote Dead Tube, which we all know I fucking despise for being snuff pornography and nothing else. So naturally you would think I would hate Scumbag Loser considering my past thoughts on the manga's works, but that's unfortunately not the truth. I like Scumbag Loser because it feels refreshingly unhinged. How do I put this? It's like he took the unlikable protagonists of DeadTube and even tried to make us like them, while actually doing a real horror premise and not just budget gore porn designed to make Live Leak fans wet themselves. That said, it definitely has its flaws, so we should probably get into that. Scumbag Loser had a 14-chapter run, with it being split into two parts, with the first 6 chapters dedicated to following our smell fetishes of our main character, Mirai Mizuhiko. Fuck, I cannot pronounce it. Just call him Mirai, okay? Who is a scumbag who stumbles upon a monster who's hiding out in the skin of his deceased childhood crush. Alright, let me pull out the bingo sheet. Let's see. Necrophilia? Check. Scent-based fetish? Check. The murdering of people? Check. Well, it's not enough for bingo, but there's certainly still, enough representation of niche fetishes in the story, but let's be honest, that's not really a criticism, I'm just padding for time. What I will say about this setup is the fact that I like that our protagonist is completely fucking unlikable, and they don't even try to paint him into a situation where he should be likable. He really is a scumbag loser, so when the monster compels him to find other scumbag losers for it to feed on, we aren't exactly feeling bad for him. I actually like that the first half of the story leaves us with terribly mixed feelings. It spends so much time setting up just how gross our protagonist is while trying to fill us with pity for him, as he is obviously the victim of bullying, but bro deserves it. He's fucking fell. And even when he's under the thumb of the monster, he continues to be gross as shit. In fact, he's willingly putting himself in that situation even after dismantling the monster's lives within the first chapter. Levi isn't supposed to be likable or relatable, and that's why it's so refreshing. It's like it's taking a page from the classic slasher movie tropes, where the victims aren't exactly likable people, so we can enjoy their deaths without remorse. Is that Scumbag Loser doesn't do that. It wants you to feel remorse, even though you shouldn't. It makes you uncomfortable because you are forced into this situation where you need to root for a person who we are supposed to despise. In a way, I like to think of it as a unconventional type of horror, because the end goal of horror is to make its audience uncomfortable, and while this isn't terrifying, it's definitely making you uncomfortable through horror tropes and cliches. It really makes you wonder where all this talent went with Dead to be honest. I know I haven't really focused on the story, but I really want to keep focusing on the topic of uncomfortableness, because I think that's the best way to describe its vibe. Uncomfortably terrifying. It really knows how to make you feel upset, as we discuss how it achieves it with the protagonist, but that extends to the body horror as well. There's just something about how they depict these imposters with their big, toothy grins and kinda dead eyes that unnerve me. For me, what really did it for me was, chapter 3, where the imposter is readjusting its skin of the person they just replaced, because it's the one in a 1-2 punch to the gut, as they clearly reveal that the victim is still being eaten. We don't see what it looks like, but the fact that it's left to the imagination is what makes it great. There is no better tool for horror than the audience's own twisted mind, and this scene does it perfectly. There's other great scenes like the feeding frenzy in Volume 3, where we see the true nature of the imposters, and the classroom reveal in Volume 2. But now we're heading to my flaws of the manga, which is. Hmm. I guess we can touch upon my major problem now before I hand out my final qualifying praise. Okay, here's my main problem. I think the story goes downhill after the Volume 1 cliffhanger, and obviously spoilers, so timestamp on screen. Anyway, I think it's great. It gets really hard to follow the plot after it reveals that he survived the eating, and now he's effectively soloing this threat before it switches focus to another scumbag loser to follow for a bit, and it gets all confused towards the climax in Volume 3. I would normally think this is just a sign of bad writing, which would fit in with the train of logic, given the context of Gunnex Clover and DeadTube. But here's the thing I don't think this is sloppy writing. Rather, the story got a little too big for its breaches, and they simply couldn't fit in within the restrictions of the run. That volume one is so tightly well done and well paced that I feel like I have to believe that because there's no way he would have dropped the ball that quickly. Plus, reading that final chapter of the series, plus the epilogue, recontextualizes the story. It becomes a story about not a scumbag loser who eventual guilt builds up to him trying to make amends via a heroic attempt to stop the threat, but a story between the love of two people. I love that the ending ends with him turning into a monster and having to eat his love to end the threat. But none of that matters because it really homes in on the connection between Murai and the imposter, who only went through all this due to the love she inherited from the corpse of the old Haruka. It recontextualizes the monster's actions because it inherited that tsundere nature of the old Haruka. It really just changes the meanings of his actions throughout the series. The imposter really did love our scumbag loser, and I think that's beautiful. With that all said, I don't think I can be that forgiving of its overall sloppiness post Volume 1, and I think with the ending in mind, you could easily redo Volume 2 and Volume 3 to fit into this, narrative that is crafted at the end of the story. I would simply cut out all the other, the other scumbag loser and the detective angle and really focus on the relationship between these two and expand a little bit more on the scumbag's father because, he's obviously the core to this mystery. I think if it did that, this title would be an incredible horror classic. But because it went a little too big, it ends up feeling half baked and rushed. But just like Tokyo Red Hood, I can't hold it against it. I can see what it's trying to do, and I respect that. It also helps that there's this little write up at the end of Volume 3 from the author, which made me realize how I really wasn't respecting their effort. This line here specifically about how if this becomes someone's trauma manga, that it stays with them for their life, that is more than they deserve. And as a creator, that deeply resonates with me, so I'm starting to tear up now. With each video that I make, be it a stupid AK rant that is a hit for some reason, still beyond me, or a manga video that never connects unless it's gooning bait, I put my everything into it. And I feel the exact same way. Sometimes creators like us feel like we don't deserve our success, feeling like imposters. So when someone does connect with our work, it's often more recognition than we actually deserve. That's why I have the Discord server now. Being able to talk to the few people who like my work is nice and does wonders for my anxiety. And I'm going to say it, I'm that person they mentioned in that write up. I remember reading this back in 2013, and it has stuck with me since then because it's so uniquely beautiful despite its flaws. It's the stories like Tokyo Red Hood and Scumbag Loser that makes me hate this subgenre so much because I have seen what can be done with these titles and I want titles to be on that level, but they never do deliver. With this line in mind, it makes me want to revisit Gunnex Clover and Dead 2, to be honest, because I give those two titles so much bile, especially Dead 2, and I really want to try to see what others see in them. I really want to redo my thoughts on them. Well, maybe not Dead 2, but I think the 5 rereads I have given it over the years will not change my mind on it, but Gunnex Clover? Sure, why not? I have all the time in the world for other projects now, since AK has become my sort of time filler thing. I might do it even as our next review in a few months. Who knows? All I know right now is that I need to add this gem of a series to my collection. Maybe once I have the shelf space, though.